I'm going to do a couple of bow tutorials for you today. I had someone ask me if I could show them how I make my bows, so I thought I would take this opportunity to do it now since I'm making a wreath, and I need to make a couple other bows for some projects, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to do this now. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I do not know the names of bows. I know there are some that have names and I'm not familiar with them. I don't keep up with them. I apologize ahead of time. I just make bows the way I like them. So I just wanted to put that out there. So if there is a specific name for a bow, I'm sorry, I don't know it because I don't keep track of that. I just make them how I like them. All right, so the first one I'm going to make is for a fall wreath. I have a lot of ribbon going on here, so please excuse me while I get it all together. So here's the sign I'm using for one of my fall wreaths that I'm getting ready to make. And I want to make a bow for that. So I'm going to do that real quick here. Move that out of the way. So I'm trying to get an angle here where you can actually see how I'm making the bow and you're not in front of me. I'm not able to do it from behind. So I'm trying to do it at this angle here so that you can get the best possible view. So I have a little spool holder off to the side here that I'm going to be using. I'm starting with a 2.5 inch. Get my scissors. And this matches the sign, as you can see here, the background of the sign. So we're going to use that. Now, I don't want very long tails for this particular wreath that I'm going to be making. So I'm just going to do the tails about the same length as I would the loops of my bow. So I typically start, now let me start with the bow maker here. This is the Easy Bow, a bow stow and go. Now this is my original bow maker, and this is the Deluxe Easy Bow Maker. Both of these come from the same maker. I carry this one in my shop if you're interested in this one. It's at wreathdecorbydawn.com. You can find that. I don't carry the stow and go yet, but I'm going to use this one here because it's the one I already had out. Obviously, I had to get the other one out. So we're just going to use this bow maker for the demonstration purposes, but they both make them the same bow, okay? All right, so we're going to start at 7 inches, and I'm trying to do this again at the angle so that you can see best. All right, so I just want that tail to go out like that. So I'm just going to put it in there, and I do twist before I put mine in here on the first one. You'll see when we do the second loop, or the first loop, really. And I put this in. Now we're going to do 6 inches. All right, so now I want to twist. I'm leaving this part with the good side up. This part is the back side of the ribbon. Okay, so we're twisting that. You can twist it either direction, whichever direction is easier for you. And then we're going to put that in there. We're going to come out to our 6. I'm going to put my finger here to hold it. And then I'm going to scrunch it down in the center. And I'm going to twist this side here where I want to make another loop. Twist it so that we have, again, the good side here. So there's our first or second loop. First one on this side. We already have one on this side. Now we're going to make a second loop. So we're doing 2 loops on each side with this bow. So now I want to bring this one out to meet the loop I already made. So I'm going to put my fingers there to keep them both about the same. Typically you can put your hand in there like this and just measure it out to the same, or just use the line and go to the 6. So we're going to do that. Scrunch it. Let's twist it again. We want another loop over here. So again, your back side's up. Put this down in. Measure it out so it's the same as your bottom one. And now we're going to scrunch it down, and we're going to make it so that we have 2 loops plus a tail on each side. So there's our 2 loops, there's our tail. Here's our tail, and then we have our 2 loops. These are at 6 inches, okay? And if they're not exactly the same, now's your time to go ahead and fix them. So you want to make sure that they're both pretty even. They don't have to be exact. Nobody's going to go up and measure your loops. But for consistency, you don't want it to be one to be really long and the other to be really short. You want to keep them about the same. So this one goes over a little bit. If you see the 6 line right here, it goes over just a tad. And this one is probably just on it or slightly over it as well. But when you're eyeballing it on the wreath, it's going to look like it's the same. So we don't want to, just don't want it to be too drastic. Now we're going to cut that off at the 7. And the reason I do 7 is because I'm going to dovetail those, and if I need to, we can cut them down a little bit. But for now, I just want them to be a little bit longer. So let's put a pin in that one. We're done with that one. Now I'm going to do, see, I have this pumpkin that I want to put in here, but I think I'm going to do a solid orange first. All right, so again, we're going to do the same thing. This time, because I'm going to go down about a 1/2 inch, I'm going to make this about 6.5 inches. And I just use my board. There's numbers on the side as well. And I just use my board and eyeball that 6.5. And then I'm going to twist. So I measured it out, and I'm just twisting it before I put it in. Now, you don't have to twist before you put it in. If it makes it more comfortable for you to twist it while it's on the bow maker, then by all means do it that way. Whatever makes you feel comfortable is how you want to do it, because then your bow's going to come out just right. We're going to do a 5.5 inch. The loop is 6.5, or the tail is 6.5 inches, but the loop is going to be 5.5 inches now, because this one was 6. So we're going to go slightly smaller, scrunch it down in the center. And the reason I do it in the middle like that is because it tends to lay a little better for me when I do it this way. Okay, so there's our first loop. Now we're going to do the same on the other side. We'll just move that tail out of the way. We're going to look 5.5 inch loop. We're going to scrunch it down, and then we're going to twist the opposite side. And then that helps it to lay a little flat and a little easier and not as bunched up. Now measure this one out, scrunch it down, hold this side while you twist the other side. So there's our loop. Here's our other side, the back side's up. Put that in. We're going to measure it out to the same as the bottom loop we just did. Get it right there. And then we're going to scrunch it down, and we're going to lay it flat. And we're going to leave this turned up, the right side up, because we're done with those 2 loops. So we've got 2 loops on each side for a total of 4 loops. So we're going to spread these out, put our tail in the center. That's not where we're going to leave them, but we're just doing it for this purpose, for the demonstration purpose. Again, I'm going to cut that off just slightly smaller. Put a pin in it, and we'll move that off to the side. All right, so there's our 2 loops there and our tail. So you can see underneath, you can see that bottom one right there. And we will spread all these out so that all these loops can be seen. Ideally, we want them to be to alternate. So you got your green underneath, then you got your orange, then you got your green, then you got your orange, and so on. Just like this. We want this one here, this one here. There we go. So there we go. Okay? All right, now we're going to go ahead and put in our... Turn it this way so you can see it for a minute. So now we're going to put in our pumpkins, I think. Let's get the pumpkins in here. And then we'll finish it off with those other 2. Now, with your pumpkins, these are going all one direction. As you can see, they're upside down for you. There's the end of it. So these are the pumpkins here. So I'm going to show you how we're going to fix that. Now, to some, it may not matter. If you don't care that your pumpkins are upside down on part of your bow, then don't worry about it. But if you don't like it like that, I'm going to show you how you can fix it, okay? All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to measure out, let's do 5.5 on this one, or 6. Let's do 6. We'll keep it consistent. I'm going to bunch it up here, and I'm going to twist. So my tail is over here. Here's the bottom side of the ribbon so that I can make my loop. Now, we did a 6 and a 5.5. Now we're going to do a 5-inch. So let me spread these out so I can see my lines there. There is my 5-inch. And I want all of these are going to be slightly smaller than the last. We're going to scrunch it down here in the center. And then I'm going to twist. I want this to lay flat. So I'm going to pull that out right there. Now we've got the back side of the ribbon over here. Let's make our loop over here. We're going out to 5-inch. We're going to scrunch that down. We're going to hold it on this side, and we're going to twist it on this side. All right. So there is our 5-inch loop. It's a little small, so I'm going to pull it out. There we go. And along the way, I do go and make sure that right here where my edges are, I want them straight. I don't want them tucked or rolled in. I want them straight. Now we're going to do another loop on this side. Again, with the 5-inch. Measure it out. We're going to scrunch it down. Hold this side and twist. Right there. Now we're going to straighten out our edges. Right there. Want to make sure those are the same size loops. And if they're not, now's the time to adjust. Twist. Flatten out. And let's make another loop on this side. Right there. And we're going to scrunch it down and flatten it out. So when I finish off with one ribbon, I just scrunch it and then I lay it flat and then I make sure to pull my edges out from underneath so that they're not tucked in. So that makes your bow sit a little easier. And again, this is how I do it. You have to find your own rhythm. We're going to cut this off slightly longer than our loops. For a long time, I didn't make bows on lives because I feel like I take a long time to make a bow and people don't want to sit and watch that. Where I've found now that people, that's the part they want to watch. They want to see the bow being made. So now I don't feel so bad about taking a little longer to do it. Now, we're going to spread these out and I'm going to show you what I mean by some of your pumpkins being upside down. Now on this side, where you can see easier, they're going to look okay. They're going to look fine. But this one is looking, see now this tail is facing the right direction. So if this is the front of my bow, this one's going correct, this one's going correct, this one's going correct. But this one, the pumpkin's upside down. This one, the pumpkin's upside down. Now again, that may not bother you, and if it doesn't, leave it. But if you want them to all go the same direction, just take these two here. Let me see. Yeah, we're going to do it right now. Take it and twist it again. Take the whole loop and just twist it again. And then your pumpkin is sitting correctly. Okay? Same thing with this one. I have to do this one so you can see it. So I'm going to hold this right here around my dowels. I'm going to call these dowels. Take this and just give it a twist. Okay, you want to reach down there at the base of it, grab both pieces of the ribbon, and give it a twist. Right like that. Now, when I put my zip tie on, it's going to hold that in place. It's not going to twist back around. And the ribbon is wired, so it's really not going to move anyway. But there's that. And you're not even going to notice it because one, we're putting more ribbon on top, and two, that zip tie is going to hold it in place. So now all of your pumpkins are facing this direction, which is the front of your bow, the base of your bow. Okay? All right, now, this one here, each ribbon has 2 loops on each side, or 4 loops total. So each ribbon has got 4 loops. There's 2 there, 2 there, plus the tails. All right. So let's finish it off with the pumpkins in the wreath I'm making have both these colors in it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dark orange rust colored one, and I'm going to, this is a 1.5 now that we're using. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to make it 5-inch tail, twist, and we're going to do 4 loops with this one. So these are going to be 4.5 inches. So we're going to look for our lines and go right in between, twist. It's easier to do with a 1.5. There's the back side of the ribbon. Put that in there, do a 4.5 again, twist, another loop, make sure they're the same, twist, and then another loop on this side, make sure they're the same, and then scrunch it down and flatten it out. Now we cut that tail, make sure our ribbons are not scrunched up. It just makes it easier when you fluff it all out at the end. If everything is laid flat now, you don't have to try and flatten it once you get your zip tie on there. All right, so there's that one. Now I don't want to cover up too much of the pumpkin ribbon, but I want it to still be seen because the wreath that we're making has got pumpkins on it. Let's go over there with that one. So now those tails will, all be dovetailed. So there's the bow so far. We'll spread all these tails out. They're not all going to be here together like this. Okay? All right, let's put one more ribbon on and then we can zip tie it. All right, so we're going to finish it off with this one here. Now for this one, I don't think I'm going to do 4 loops all total. I think I'm just going to do 2 loops, possibly a center loop. Now we'll keep these at about 5 inches, twist and put that in. We're going to make 1 loop. This one's going to be about 4 inches, so slightly smaller than the last. And we're just eyeballing it at this point, making sure it's not longer than the other, and then scrunch it and flatten it out, and there's the tail. Now if you wanted to do a center loop, I'll show you how you can do that. So we're going to cut this one off a little bit longer. Oop, my cardboard's coming off. All right. Now I'm going to grab a zip tie. I want a nice long zip tie. This one's 11 inches. I'm going to lift up all of my loops and tails, and I want to make sure that this zip tie is up next to my dowels. Now you could put this down first, but it just is easier for me to do it this way. I'm going to put it on there and zip it a couple of times. I don't want it tight. I just want it to where it's going to hold everything in place when I take it off of the bow maker, okay? So then I'm going to also grab a pipe cleaner, and I use brown because I'm making a grapevine wreath, and I'm going to put that in the back as soon as I get it all tightened and fixed. So now all of this has to come off. So I'm going to hold it on this side I'm going to grab all of this. I'm not worried about messing up any of my ribbons right now because I'm going to fix them all. So I'm going to scrunch all this up and I'm going to hold that really tight right there. Okay? Pull that off. Now there's a divot here where these went in between these dowels, okay? This divot is where you want that zip tie to sit. Put that in there and I'm going to pull it around to the back so that the locking part of my zip tie is now underneath my bow. Put it in that divot, make sure it's straight. Give it a little tighten. You're not tightening it all the way, just enough so everything stays in place and now you can let go, okay? Now we want to make sure nothing has moved. If it has, now's your time to move it back into place, okay? So hold this, and now I want to take my underside. Let me move the bow maker. And I'm going to lay it down upside down like this. I'm going to take my pipe cleaner, and I want to go up underneath. Now, if you forget to do this part, those needles, the weaving needles I carry in my shop, are really good at getting these pipe cleaners up underneath, or even your floral wire, if you forget to add it. Those needles will slide right up underneath here and help you get that wire on there if you forget about it. So just a little side note there. But since we didn't forget, we left enough room. Now we can tighten it another notch or two, and then we're going to hold both of these and the zip tie, and that's going to be our holder while we fluff out our bow, okay? So now I want you to take all your ribbons, all your loops, put your 2 fingers inside, hold it like this, and you're going to rock it back and forth. Don't tug on it too hard, but you want to just rock it back and forth a little bit, and that's going to help fluff out your bow, okay? Hardworking Mom calls that breaking the bow, okay? So we're going to move all of our tails where we want them, because once we tighten this down, it's going to stay. It's not moving. It's going to be really hard to move that stuff. So again, rock it, and that helps to get those kinks out of there. And then I just go with each ribbon and I do that and I move it where I want it to go. Put it in place. Okay. So let's get this done real quick. And then I will show you what I do next. I'm going to do this on both sides. Get my fingers in there. Come on. So I'm opening up these loops here, twisting slightly, placing these where they need to be. Now don't forget, this is the one we twisted around so that the pumpkins would go in the right direction. So I'm going to spend a little extra time making sure that that is not twisted up. I want it to look nice when it lays down on the bow or on the wreath. So there's that one. Once you get all of these done, get your ribbons where you want them in your tails. Then we can go ahead and tighten our zip tie. Okay, there we go. 1, 2. Now it still looks a little messy, but that's okay. Once I get it on the wreath, it's going to look a little better. We need to go that way with it. There we go. And sometimes the loops and the tails, they'll tell you where they want to go. I know that sounds funny, but they will. Like that tail just told me it wanted to be over here, not over here. So we're going to put it over there. That's where it wants to go. If it lays better that way, then put it that way. All right, so there we go. All fluffed out. We're ready to tighten everything down. We can dovetail it. So I'm going to pull. Now, if you have problems with your hands, you can get this zip tie tool. Let me say that. Zip tie tool. in my Amazon shop. So there'll be a link in the description for you to buy this and any other tools that we're using, and I'll have links where you can buy any of the stuff I'm showing, okay? But this zip tie tool helps pull this tight, plus it cuts off the zip tie for you. If you've never used one, I'll show you how to do it. But you can also use a pair of pliers if you don't have the tool and you don't want to buy it. You can just take your needle nose pliers, grab a hold of this end piece, and put your fingers down here at the nub of the zip tie and pull that as tight as you can, okay? Once you get that and you don't hear it clicking anymore, then you're done with that. Be careful because these have been known to break. So I don't want you to stab your hand with your needle nose pliers or anything like that, okay? And then you can just take a little cutter, nippers, and cut that off at the nub. Or you can use the tool. It slides right in here at the end. Slide your zip tie in there. I get it all the way to the nub. Hold this piece here. Give it a couple of half clicks. That means it's tightening up. And then I give it a clip and it cuts it right off at the nub, so you don't have to worry about it. So again, that you'll find that in my Amazon storefront, and I will link it up in the description of the video. I'm going to twist this around a couple of times, and then when I put this on my wreath, and I will show you putting it on my wreath, but I'm not going to make the wreath on this video. Now I want to dovetail. So I'm going to start at the bottom because I want to make sure that I don't cut these too short because I want you to see them. So when you dovetail, you want to take and fold the ribbon in half and then cut from the folded edge out to the wired edge, okay, at an angle. So lay your scissors on there from the edge right here and cut at an angle, however deep you want that V to be, okay? So there's that. And there's our dovetail. So you want to do that with all of your tails. And I don't want my my tails to be too short, so I'm going to fold it and I'm going to give it a little so that it lays. You can see the orange, you can see the green. Okay? We'll do the same thing with this one. We'll fold that at an angle, and it all depends on what angle you cut it at as to how deep that V is going to be. Some V's, like this one, is a little deeper V than this one because of the way I was holding it. They don't all have to be perfect. Whoops. Time for new scissors. All right, bottom one, let's fold that one in. And again, you just take it, fold it in half, take your scissors, go at an angle. Oh my, these scissors are really bad. Let's do this one. I have to sharpen those or something. I've tried sharpening them in the past and it's never worked out great, so we'll see. It's just easier to get new ones, I guess. These have been around for a while. All right, make sure we didn't miss any. I think we got them all. 1, 2, 3. It looks like we got them. This one needs to be recut. I don't like the way that one's sitting. So we're gonna just take a small sliver of it and cut it there. Now this one looks a little longer. You can see up here on the top. This one looks a little longer, so I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half. And we're going to give it another clip. And again, same with this rust one over here. The first one I did, it's a little long, so now we're going to take and we're going to clip that off. There. All right, so there's our bow. See how pretty that is? And then you just take your fingers and fluff up all those loops so they all are opened up and they're standing pretty. And you can do this when you get it on your bow or on your wreath, excuse me. And that'll help a lot too, because it'll be on the actual project. So we'll spread these two out. We've got two over here together, so let's spread those out. And there's our bow. So I'm going to take that and I'll put it on the grapevine itself. So let me move this stuff. Here's my grapevine that I'm using today. So I think I want, which side do I want to use? These are very dense and thick. I got these from my wholesaler a couple weeks ago. I think I want to use this side for my project. So I'm going to take my weaving needles. So if you've never seen the weaving needles before, these are great for helping you get your bows and attachments through grapevines, through mesh wreaths, through any kind of wreath, the evergreens, any of them. You don't have to fiddle with trying to make room to get them through all the mesh and everything, or the grapevine. You just take and put it right through here. This is the long 6-inch one. I'm going to go right down into this grapevine in the center. There's an opening right here. Because it's so dense, I'm going to weave it through, hence the name weaving needle. These are actually used for like knitting and crocheting, but that's where the weaving needle comes from. All right, so I'm trying to get through all the grapevines there. We're going to take and pull that. So there is our one wire through. Now we're going to loop on the other wire. And we're going to do the same thing. Now, I don't want to go around the outside. I want to go through the inside because I don't want this wire to be, this pipe cleaner to be seen. So I'm going right in there and I'm going to grab. I'm not going where the first wire was because I want it to hold on. Otherwise, it would just pull through. But I want to put that right in there and then I'm going to tighten it. Now, I'm going to pull this over and you can see they're in two different places there. I'm going to take these and I'm going to give it a good twist. Whoops, well now I smashed my bow. I was trying to avoid doing that. I'm going to give it a couple of twists around. It'll hold in place. I'm just going to wrap these down and get them out of my way for now in case I need to adjust my bow later. Now you can adjust your loops and make your bow look the way you want. So there's a big, fluffy, beautiful fall bow. So there's our fall bow. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you for watching.